Hello and welcome to MediaCast, the podcast series from Mediabrief.com. I'm your host and friend Pavan Chawla, and my guest in the latest episode of the MediaCast podcast series is a young leader who works with an entity that promises to help you when you're looking for love. And this young leader I welcome to MediaCast is Sitara Menon, India Marketing Manager for international dating app OkCupid India. Sitara, welcome to the MediaCast podcast series from Mediabrief.com. Thanks for your time and presence on a Saturday morning, no less.
Hi, Pavan. Thank you so much for having me. It's always exciting to talk about what we do at OkCupid, and I have loved your podcast. So I'm very, very excited to be invited to talk about this brand that I love so much on it.
Thanks, Sitara, for being on the show. And thanks also to young Manasvi Dhillon of Publicis Consultants Asia for facilitating this. So, Sitara, let me first share your brief introduction with the listeners of MediaCast. So, here goes. Sitara Menon, Designated Senior Marketing Manager, is the India Marketing Manager for international dating app OkCupid that focuses on helping you find your kind. As a marketer, storyteller, and Indian millennial who grew up battling Bollywood's definition of romance, she helped define OkCupid's position in their first international market, which is India. Under her direction, OkCupid has gained recognition for its messages of inclusion, affirmation, and commitment to helping Indian daters, as they call it, find a serious relationship on their own terms. Before OkCupid, and as Sitara says in another life, she ran brand communications for Anita Dongre, Jaipur Living, and Aid India, where she converted brands into a force of good. An alumnus of XIC, she has over 10 years of experience building brands. A plant mother and Nimbu Pani connoisseur, Sitara has called 10 places home so far. So Sitara, once again, welcome to MediaCast, and let's dive in to our questions.
Yeah.
So Sitara, first and foremost, give us an overview of OkCupid's journey so far and how it has fared amongst Indian audiences and your current and potential customers.
OkCupid actually is one of the oldest dating services that exist. OkCupid was actually launched in 2004 as a .com, and we only personalized the app for India in 2018. And that's when we really launched here. And what that means is that we, added questions to the platform that were relevant to Indians. And at that point of time, there weren't too many platforms that cared about who you were and helped you find love on your own terms. Keeping in mind that you're more than just 120 characters or, the stars under which you were born.
Right.
So at OkCupid, we have seen phenomenal growth. The year we launched, we saw over 1 million users, and that number has only been growing in India because we care about you falling in love with somebody who's right for you.
Wonderful. More than 1 million users in just 3 years, and it's growing. That's really good.
Yeah, actually, more than 1 million was the year that we launched. Since then, we've seen significant.
Oh, wow. Kudos to you. Very nice indeed. I hope the same users aren't multi-dating today. Well, you never know. It's just a funny aside, I guess.
But I think that's a valid question and sort of also a relevant question, right? Because these are daters looking for love. These are not daters looking for an exploration. Just naturally, the platform is not built for that. The platform is built for you to find your somebody special, hopefully or forever.
Nice. What took so much time, and when did you realize that, India is now a great market? So what was it amongst which gender or kind of demographic that convinced you that this is a good time?
So I'm going to dive into a little bit of history before I answer that specific question.
Sure.
So 2004, a bunch of Harvard mathematicians got together and said, look, maybe we can crack a formula to help people find love. Now the jury is still out. They may or may not have cracked a formula, but what we know is that, over the last 2 decades, there are hundreds and thousands of people who have found love, who have found lasting love.
Right.
And, it was great. And OkCupid was headquartered in New York, existed predominantly in the US. But in India, around 2018, we started seeing a seismic shift in how relationships work. right? So in the early 2010s, basically, men and women have wanted different things from a relationship in this specific generation. They want compatibility of beliefs, ideas, quirks, or the shows that they're watching on these OTT platforms together, right?
Right.
And that's harder to find within your parents' friend circles than typical. And so in 2018, we started seeing a lot of Indians start downloading the app and use it. And so we figured, here's an app that clearly people are seeing value in. And so let's take it to India. Let's personalize it to India. Let's make it relevant to these globally traveled Indian men and women who care about whether you like paneer on pizza, whether you want to split household chores, whether Supandi was the coolest Tinkle character, right? All of this is very different from asking about, left-wing versus right-wing politics in the US, which is in the US the most important compatibility question.
Right.
So that's how we came into India, and that's why we came in 2018, just because, back in 2004, we were still developing the platform, and we've spent the last 2 decades making sure that we have a great product. And now we can localize it to India.
Excellent. And so how has the growth been in these 3 short years?
I have to confess that it has been better than our wildest imagination. The year we launched, we saw over 1 million users join the platform. And then every year after that has been more and more. And I think those are the numbers that prove that the product works in India. But to me and all of us on the brand side, what truly proves to us that the product is working and is relevant is, our DMs are filled with these love stories of people saying, I met the love of my life when I thought I couldn't.
Wow.
Or I have been with somebody for the last 2 years and my life has just changed because I'm finally accepted for who I am and I'm loved for that.
Wonderful.
And to me, that is the growth story. It's not just these admittedly impressive numbers. It's people finding love, because that is the purpose of this app.
Wonderful, wonderful. And, you really are responsible for a large part of this. Of course, the basic platform and what it really offers, the algorithms, the mathematical kind of geniuses who sat behind and said, let's create these algorithms and these huge numbers of questions that will probably trip someone who's trying to live a life in the minds of others and therefore faking responses up. So the flotsam and jetsam is always sort of pushed out of the water and it comes to the surface. And says, avoid me.
You're right. I certainly can't take all the credit. It's years of work from so many people,
right?
Especially, like you said, the engineers, the psychologists who inform these questions, for sure. Yeah.
Wonderful. And how has the quest for love, if I may use that term, increased or changed rather during the pandemic? And how has that impacted you guys?
Yeah, so the pandemic has been a particularly concerning 2 years for people who are single, right? So earlier, a lot of single Indian men and women were forced to meet their parents, friends, people, like 6th degree connections. And it was frustrating.
Yeah.
But at least it felt like you were meeting somebody. And then, of course, you would be at parties, you would be in coffee houses. There was the ability to make human connection.
Right.
The pandemic has changed that, right? Like just as human beings, it's harder to make connections without feeling threatened. And we're human beings. We thrive off meeting people, looking at people's faces, giving them a hug, shaking their hands, high-fiving them even.
Correct.
And the pandemic's changed that significantly. So for single daters, it's been very lonely. And dating apps are the only place where they can make those connections.
Right.
So the bad thing of the pandemic is obviously that we're all a lot more lonely than we have ever been, especially as single daters in the country. The silver lining though is that a lot more people have signed up on dating platforms, especially like OkCupid. And it's given people the time to sort of take a step back from just a race and the pressure of meeting people after one conversation to sort of step back and say, this is what I want from a relationship, and I don't have the time or the bandwidth or the mind space to put up with anything else. And so people have been a lot more particular about what they want. And so on OkCupid particularly, we have seen a lot more love stories because there is a greater sense of clarity in what they want. So we're seeing much longer conversations on the platform with people where they're feeling a spark, and much quicker exits from matches where they're not seeing a spark, right? So if it's, hi, I think you're great, I think you're great as well, but this, is not going to go anywhere, the conversation ends. It isn't this sort of like endless, every few weeks.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen anymore. People are very clear. And I think it's also taken pressure off relationships, right? There's no rush to meet up for that coffee. And so there's this slow dating culture that we're seeing where people are getting to know each other, connect on the things that matter to them before they go offline. And that's exciting. I think it's shifted the landscape for dating.
Excellent. So therefore, as I see it, your focus will be on creating and continuing to create that superior product for Indian users to find their kind of love, that love formula. I saw this amazing meme. It was so funny. It says, okay, your next question on KBC is arrange these in order. Okay. Number 1, OkCupid. Number 2, Nestle. The correct order that meme creator said was OkCupid, because you need the love formula before you need the baby formula.
Oh my God.
It's just a funny thing that I saw.
Valid.
It was very, very funny. But anyways, it's all about helping Indian users find their kind of love, and your marketing efforts definitely are directly correlated towards the same. So what is the kind of target audience that you have?
Yeah.
Who do you target your communication to?
Yeah. The platform is valid for anybody who is seeking love in their lives. And, in that sense, the platform is really open to everybody who wants love on their own terms. When we are speaking though, and when we are formulating these ideas of what our messaging should be, we speak to, the Indian in their mid to late 20s, in their 30s, because we have found we've seen people who found love on our platform who are younger and older than those subsets. And this is not to say that others want or don't want something, but we have found that, people towards their mid and late 20s are the people who have discovered themselves, have found a comfort with themselves, and therefore have clarity on what they want from the person that they are going to spend the rest of their lives with.
Okay.
And so our target audience in that sense by age is loosely defined as sort of 25 to about 32. We speak to men and women, and we speak to people who don't identify as either gender as well.
Okay.
And it comes again from this idea that you need to find love on your own terms based on who you are and your thoughts and your feelings and your desires, and not by the boxes that society is going to put you into.
Excellent. And do you also have plans to offer product which is purely in regional languages in India, or is it just that you can tweak the search and say translate on the go in languages?
It's a hope of mine that in a few years we'll be able to translate into any language that people want to. And again, sort of one of the things about OkCupid that I have found so exciting is also that because it's on the internet, because it's an app, you can connect with people outside your region, which also means that people speaking different languages are falling in love with each other. And that's exciting to me.
Excellent.
I think in a few years, the product might be ready to be translated. Having said that, for right now, we're still making sure that we can provide the best experience. And so we will lay the groundwork in English, learn everything that we can before we make those translation moves.
Excellent. So 25 to 32 roughly. And then of course it's valid and relevant for everybody. There's no age to sort of be in that mindset when you're looking for relationship.
Because I recently read a story about a woman who in her 50s found love on OkCupid.
Oh, sweet.
I loved it because she'd been through bad relationships. Her partner had sort of separated, and she found love at 50 because she still believed that she deserved love. And that's what this platform is about at the heart of it.
Lovely. You're listening to the MediaCast podcast series from Mediabrief.com. I'm your host and friend Pavan Chawla, and in conversation with me, that smiling voice, I wish you could see her on video, has the most amazing smile. Sitara Menon, India Marketing Manager for international dating app OkCupid India. Lovely, Sitara. It's really nice to be speaking with you, and thank you for your time. Sitara, on the emotional side, great service, great facility, great hand holding, and then hoping that Cupid really plays the part. But on the safety side, how do you prevent youngsters who are not adults sort of gate crashing or getting under the radar into the app? And is there some system whereby you check age or whatever through cross-referencing of profiles or whatever, or is it just left to a box that says, hey, I'm over 18, let me through?
Absolutely valid question. So one thing is that we absolutely do not allow people under the age of 18 to sign up on OkCupid.
Of course.
Again, you can want love, but this is not the platform to do it. And so we actually have very, very strict sign-up policies, right? So you need to sign up using phone number, email address, social media handles. All of these are then verified by a machine learning process that has learned over the last 20 years.
Okay.
And then it's also then validated by human moderators who work around the clock to sort of make sure that every sign-up is here with the right intention and the right legalities. And that extends into ensuring that our readers are feeling safe on the platform as well. Now, as a platform, OkCupid is asking you your deepest thoughts and desires and feelings, and we want to make sure that OkCupid is a safe space where you can express those thoughts and feelings and ideas without feeling threatened. And so, again, we have machines that make sure that you are kept safe on the platform, that all of the information shared is authentic, accurate, and then we have a very, very robust moderation system run by humans who make sure that everything is going in order. We absolutely encourage people to report bad behavior on the platform.
Right.
And we have a zero tolerance policy. Like if somebody has complained about you, that is going to be investigated. And until there's a very good reason, you are not going to be let back on the platform. And we take security very seriously. And I have to confess that between our moderation, our engineers, and just a safety and security team, a lot of the time over the last 2 decades has been spent on making sure that we're eliminating all threats.
Excellent. That's really responsible behavior and, even legally enjoined upon OkCupid and any other app. So if a profile is blocked because you've realized and verified through a combination of all these deep-seated systems and efforts that you have, human and machine, that, okay, this profile is a fake profile or is, absolutely not right for the rest of our people and represents some kind of danger or whatever it is, or undesirable exposure to them, do you then also, suppose somebody searches for that profile, do you flash something that says has been removed as suspicious or whatever else? Do you warn people? What if that person has engaged and exchanged some off-Cupid contact details?
So, a couple of things. One is that you can't search for people on OkCupid. The algorithm will introduce you to people that we believe you will be compatible with. And so it's only when you mutually match that you can open a conversation. For example, if we're on OkCupid and I like your profile but you don't like mine, I still can't talk to you. It's not possible. And that's sort of the first part of it. The second is that once you get off the OkCupid platform, for privacy reasons, we can't follow up. Like we can't even look into your conversations that you're having on OkCupid because it's illegal to, and we believe that you have a right to privacy. So I have to confess that, we care about this, and a lot of our messaging is about finding love and doing that in a way that you're comfortable.
Oh, I like the understatement, but yes. The manner in which you all have demonstrated care for individual security and all is on the other extreme of that statement. Very good indeed. So tell me a little more about how OkCupid matches profiles. How does it predict who could be a good match? Because you told me about the algorithm and I don't know how many questions there are to introduce users, and tell me a little more about that aspect so that people realize that it's not just a hey, I'm so and so, this is my picture, this is what I look like, and all that peripheral kind of superficial jazz. So tell me more about the algorithms. It's very interesting and I think it's a unique thing. I don't think anybody else or any other dating app has something like this. To the best of my knowledge, I could be wrong.
No, I think this is my favorite part about OkCupid, and what made me fall in love with the brand so much.
Hmm.
Like you said, nobody else does it. On one end of the spectrum, you have relationship platforms that ask you to put up a picture in 120 characters and then put out a bunch of icebreaker questions as though, your whole personality is wrapped up in that. And on the other hand, you have other relationship platforms that ask you how much money you make and what stars you were born under and what the color of your skin is. And the fact of the matter is that neither of them display who you are.
Right.
On OkCupid, that is entirely what we care about. We entirely care about who you are, what makes you tick, what can complement that to make you who you want to be in the future. And so the app itself, actually, you can answer up to 3,000 questions.
Wow.
But to be shown even a single profile, you need to answer a minimum of 15 questions. And those 15 questions break out into, what are your thoughts, what are your beliefs, what are your pop culture references that you care about. So, it's questions as much about, are you Slytherin or Hufflepuff? Because do you care about Harry Potter? And other questions like, do you think voting should be made mandatory? Do you think climate change and climate action are things worth publicly demonstrating about? And the fact of the matter is that you have people who believe yes and no on both sides, right? And your opinion is not irrelevant, irrespective of which side of the question you stand on. What matters is what you care about in the partner that you're with. So one of our biggest deal breakers actually on the platform is a smoking question. A lot of people don't want to date people who are smokers. A lot of people don't care either way. And the platform will make sure that you can mark how important the questions are to you. So for example, is fitness an important part of your life? And I can say, yes, it is. Or I can say, no, it's not. But the app then asks you, how important is it in your partner? And so if I only want to date somebody who is particular about nutrition and health because that's important in my life, then that's whom the app will introduce me to. But if I say it's a deal breaker, I can't imagine myself being with somebody who doesn't wake up and want to go for a hike, then the app won't introduce you to that person, right? Because the fact of the matter is that we want to introduce you to somebody whom you will love and you will want to spend time with. And it's important that that can be done on your terms. So the algorithm is informed by these brackets of questions. So it's beliefs, values, pop culture.
Sure. Okay, tell me, you said that there are 15 minimum questions that you have to answer. Does the algorithm on its own sort of say that these are the various 3, 4 or 5 buckets to which they have to belong so that somewhat of a rounded kind of an overview is received? Is that there?
Yeah, so the onboarding 15 questions are standard for every user who signs up. Everybody answers the same questions.
Okay.
There are 2 or 3 questions that will change depending on whether you're in America or India. In America, one of the questions is, what are your political leanings? Is it hard right, left, centrist? In India, we don't ask that question. We ask, how should household chores be split? Because that's important to Indian daters.
Right.
And that's the deal breaker for many people. So but otherwise the questions are standard, just so that we start everybody off on an even playing field. We know broadly where everybody is at. And then as you answer more questions, you get more curated profiles.
Okay. You're listening to the MediaCast podcast series from Mediabrief.com. I'm your host and friend Pavan Chawla, and in conversation with me, that smiling voice, I wish you could see her on video, has the most amazing smile, Sitara Menon, India Marketing Manager for international dating app OkCupid India. Lovely, Sitara. It's really nice to be speaking with you, and thank you for your time. So tell me, what are some of the unique initiatives and features that you have used, whether on the app or whether as marketing tools and initiatives to help users find meaningful matches?
So OkCupid has, over many, many years, we have prioritized daters finding the love that they seek without distraction. And that's what we do at OkCupid. And so every product feature that we create is built for that single purpose. So one of the first things that we ever did at OkCupid as an initiative that has now become, mainstream for all relationship apps is to introduce more than just the binary gender to the platform. We make sure that irrespective of what gender and identity you recognize as yourself, you have a place on OkCupid.
Wow.
And we do that by not only giving you the ability to put out your gender and identity and pronouns, but also getting into the specifics if you choose to. And that's one thing that we do. More recently, during the pandemic, what we noticed is that daters cared deeply about whether their potential matches were vaccinated or not. It became a deal breaker and continues to be. And so there is an unvaccinated badge on OkCupid to make sure that if you only want to date single millennials who are vaccinated, you have the ability to very quickly identify a vaccinated, potential love interest without having to ask awkward questions. And so in that respect, one of the things that we also have as, a feature on the app is something called stacks, where instead of having the platform give you these potential profiles, you can mark what's important to you, and then you will be given a group of daters who believe in that. So for example, if you care deeply about climate change, you can choose a stack that says, I believe in climate change science, and exclusively look at profiles only from that stack.
Right.
I think those are some of the features on the platform that we have ensured exist so that daters can find the love that they seek. And all of our marketing flows out of that. It's to make sure that these voices are heard and that nobody, irrespective of how niche their belief in love is, feels excluded from being able to go out and find it.
Excellent. And I believe that Stacks indeed was your biggest mobile app redesign globally. And it's really adding a lot of value and, cutting to the chase, as it were, in a safe and, protected way for your users.
Exactly.
Lovely. You also introduced some identities during Pride Month, didn't you? What was the response and traction it received from the LGBTQIA?
This was so exciting to do because for years, it's been heteronormative people who have discussed identities, right? And at OkCupid, we sort of broke that mold and said, you get to represent yourself the way that you want to represent yourself. And so we've always had, well, not always, but since that first redesign, we had 20 sexual orientations and 22 gender options to choose from. And you could put in your own pronouns. But when we introduced those 60 identities for Pride Month, we had almost 2 million people sign up for that feature and declare themselves worldwide. And so it was so exciting because what we recognized is that it wasn't just people from the community who were doing this. It was also heteronormative allies who wanted to sort of speak up and make conversation around gender and identity more mainstream, who were participating. And that was so exciting because there was, like I said, we're an exclusively inclusive app. And to do that, we need to make sure everybody is part of this conversation. And so really to see that 2 million people participated in something that we introduced for Pride was beyond incredible.
Lovely. So what are the mediums, strategies, etc. that you are sort of deploying and employing to market OkCupid to the end users in India?
For us, we talk about love and, we have the ability to do that across multiple mediums. I think what gets when I started doing this 3 years ago, what became incredibly clear to me is that, people selling chocolates and people selling movies were talking about love, but nobody who was encouraging people and helping them find avenues to find love were talking about love. And so that became a space that, at OkCupid, we became obsessed with. Literally, because we've grown up in a place where, you had these classic movies that encouraged you to find love, but off late, the more you hear and read about it, it feels like you're not going to find it. And so there's this great sense of panic amongst single people. So, at the baseline, what we're trying to do is A, make you believe that love exists, because it really does. Look around you, you're seeing these love stories, they exist. And B, remind you that you are worthy just the way you are, without having to change your opinions or talk less or straighten your hair or make more money or all of these things that everything in advertising is convincing you to change about yourselves. Without all of that, you deserve love on your terms, right? So those are the two things that we do. And the mediums that we do that through are, our social media. So like Twitter is great for us. Every once in a while, we'll put out like a movie dialogue and change it around. Or a meme on Instagram, and we find so many of our Gen Z and millennial users adding to that conversation.
Right.
So that becomes huge. We do quite a bit of work on YouTube. So we'll partner with content creators, but we've also created, our own content series. So one of them is called Love It. So they're 60-second love stories, right? All of these things that people tell you are too normal for love. So stuff like sitting together in front of a TV and eating pizza. That's love, and it's fine. I know movies don't make a big deal about it, but that's what makes you feel cherished. And so, we created stuff like that. Or like writing sweet notes to each other, which everyone will tell you is very filmy, doesn't happen in real life, but it does. Like there are people who told us these stories. So we created a series of these 60-second love stories. We created another series called The Dating Show, where we answered questions that, flood our inboxes. And they might seem very silly, like how long should I wait until I respond to somebody's message? Now, we can laugh at that question, but the fact of the matter is that a lot of people are asking this question, and so they deserve an honest answer.
Absolutely.
And so we created, what was actually ended up being a very, very fun YouTube series where influencers would come on the show and answer these questions, right? Stuff like, how do you make a great dating profile? How do you answer questions? How do you put yourself in situations that are uncomfortable, which is very often not having your joke laughed at on a date, right? So stuff like that. We try to solve those problems, reduce the anxiety around, this whole dating conversation, because it's not meant to be anxious. You're meant to have fun. And then sort of we have done in the past, we have done TV campaigns, we've done OH, all of them, every single piece of communication that we put out, like I said, goes back to reminding people that they will find the love that they deserve for who they are and not to change who they are at all, because they are lovable.
Very nice. Very insightful, Sitara. My next question is, everybody's asking about how COVID-19 has impacted your business and what have you. I understand with feet on the ground not being there and people not really being able to meet up in person, it might, in terms of not your users who sign up, but for them the opportunities to personally in person meet getting reduced. Okay, that is the impact on your business basically. And I know that things will change and things will go back to where they were. But what dating trends have you observed over the COVID-19 pandemic and lockdowns so far?
Okay, Pavan, you need to be patient with me because I'm going to dive into some numbers here.
Okay.
The fact of the matter, like you said, is that, for people to meet in real life, all of those opportunities have reduced. But what that means is that more people are trying dating apps for the first time ever, right?
Yeah.
And so, just between March and May 2020, which was when the pandemic first hit, we saw a 700% increase in dates, right? We saw a 26% increase in conversations between people just in India. And, we saw more than 1.5 million people when we asked the question. They said that they would be open to a long distance relationship like has never been done before, right?
Okay.
And a very interesting trend has also been that people care about things like vaccinations, which have never been deal breakers before, right? But again, just in India, once the new vaccination policy was announced, we saw a 763% increase in conversations around vaccinations. And these were mentions on bio. So, like I said, lots of numbers there. But what that boils down to is that the pandemic has changed how people date in India. And I believe it's for the better because it's allowed a clarity about what people want in love. And, there's a lot less embarrassment about saying this is what I want. And if it's not to be, I hope you find love on your terms. But these are mine and, somebody exists for me who believes in those same things.
Absolutely. You're listening to the MediaCast podcast series from Mediabrief.com. I'm your host and friend Pavan Chawla, and in conversation with me, that smiling voice, I wish you could see her on video, has the most amazing smile. Sitara Menon, India Marketing Manager for international dating app OkCupid India. Sitara, what future do you see for online dating platforms in India, especially in the non-metro regions?
I have to confess that I don't see such a dramatic difference between metro and non-metro India. At the heart of it, what we all crave is a romantic connection that sees us and recognizes us and cherishes us.
Right.
And, it doesn't matter which city you're living in for that very, very basic human truth to exist. I think that there is great potential for online dating in this country, chiefly because we live in a very, very, very large country. And with, relationships and just personality requirements changing and being so different over this generation than ever before, we're looking outside our immediate friends and family groups for love. And dating apps give you the possibility of that serendipity. It gives you the ability for that magic without the constriction of just the people that you know. It also gives you the freedom and safety to date when you're feeling comfortable, right? You don't have to go at a designated hour and feel put out by it. You can choose to sit on your desk in your bed and, on a Sunday when you have time, and seek out the sort of person that you want to be in a relationship with. And I think daters in India see that, which is why we're seeing such a phenomenal growth in at least OkCupid usage in India. And so I see a bright future for dating platforms in India, but specifically because on OkCupid, you can find love. I don't think that Indians are looking for anything less. And that's great.
Super, super. Wonderful. Okay, Sitara, this question will seem a little funny to you because as I see it from the algorithms and everything else that you have in place, it really is what it throws up as a matchable profile is something that is real and genuine based on all the replies that, people have given to the important questions that have been asked by OkCupid. But still, for those sometimes all of us are conscious and sometimes we live a life in the minds of others, so we endeavor to shine. So what would you advise, your users on OkCupid, daters, how to have a really nice profile that will help them actually connect with like-minded people? Not obviously on fake terms, of course, but what would you ask them to do or recommend? Or what would the algorithms or OkCupid or your study of it so far tell you to tell them?
Pavan, honestly, I'm so glad that you asked this question. Dating on dating apps is still kind of new in India, so we haven't really sort of the instinct of a good profile doesn't exist yet, right? And so I'm very excited to sort of break it down and provide the cheat sheet for how to get, the right dates and make those right connections, right? So to begin with, upload pictures of yourself, wear something bright. Don't, put these like moody black and white pictures or like dark clothes. Make sure that you stand out and do that by putting up pictures of yourself and not of groups. So when you put up pictures, say, of you and doing something that you're passionate about, right? So whether that's going on a hike or hanging out with your dog, we see, 3x more likes on those sort of pictures. And that makes half the difference. The second thing is make sure that you're staying active on your profile. Change something in your bio, answer a new question. Maybe you've done something new and you want to talk about like a cool new TV show that you like, right? Every 2 weeks, try and do something new on your profile just so that the algorithm knows that you're still here. And again, that will boost you to the top of profile visibility. The other thing is that once you match, don't say just hi and hey. Ask a question about something that you've seen on the profile, because here's the heartbreaking fact. When you say hey or hi, 85% of those messages are ignored. And that's why even when you get a match, sometimes, in that awkwardness, you can't make a conversation and things fall through.
Okay.
Think about something interesting. There's so much on a profile like OkCupid. Start with a question, start with an opinion, or easy thing. Talk about what you're watching on whichever OTT you're watching right now. I think those would be my top easy tips. And the rest, as always, just be who you are. You're looking for love. you're not going to be able to be this version of yourself that you're trying to be. Just be who you are. You deserve to be loved for that person.
Very nice thought indeed. Tell me, like if you look at a LinkedIn, completely different thing. But if I'm connected with, although the algorithm says that, Sitara and A, B, C and D are sort of matchable profiles, does it keep sharing updates with you if one of the profiles updates itself?
No, we don't do that on OkCupid. We don't function like the typical social discovery platform, right? We introduce you to a potential partner. And so if you're in conversation with somebody, then, you'll get to see everything that they're changing on their profile.
Okay.
But the other benefit is also, as you update your profile, you're recognized as somebody new and exciting. And so you might pop back onto somebody's stack, but we don't message you every time somebody changes something on their profile.
Excellent. So what's the business model then? How does OkCupid make money off all these wonderful, dedicated people who are with you looking for love? Because do you have a paid segment where you boost profiles and bring them up in, immediate kind of on the mental, not the mental, but the website or the app homepage, so to speak?
OkCupid is a freemium app. What that means is that you can set up your profile, you can match with people, and you can message them if they like you too, absolutely free of cost, right? You can find love. But if you want the app to get into superpower mode and help you out a little bit more, then there are subscriptions and other features that you can buy, right? So you can send somebody a super like. That's a paid feature, but you basically then express that you're very, very interested in them. And we've seen super likes work really well. Like you're a lot more likely to match with somebody. Like it's almost 2 times as many likes that you'll receive if you send somebody a super like. Or, one of the features is also see who liked you, and you can pay for that. So you see who has liked you instead of seeing a blind stack of potential matches. You'll see just the profiles who've already liked you, and you can choose from that. One of the other paid features is you can set up very specific deal breakers about like distance, about languages that they speak, things like that. The other paid feature that I think is quite cool is something called incognito, where you can choose to keep your profile hidden except to the profiles that you have matched with. So if you like a profile, only then will they see your profile, right?
Okay.
So it's a premium model. For the most part, you can make it work for you. But if you want to, like I said, give your profile superpowers, then there are paid features to do that.
Wow, Sitara. OkCupid, what it offers is something really unique. I like the insights of your experience and the passion of this young lady who didn't really like the manner in which Bollywood defined romance and how beautifully you've taken, profiled and really helped OkCupid in these last 3 years as the custodian of, marketing and brand building in India. So I enjoyed my conversation. What did you think of our little chat?
Pavan, honestly, thank you so much, first of all, for inviting me. I have been listening to MediaCast by Mediabrief, and I've read Mediabrief.com as well. And there's always so much value that each of those engagements bring. And to be on this show is such an honor. I think this was also a really fun chat. I loved the questions that you asked and the freedom that you gave me to sort of go on and answer them at length. Thank you. This was a very fun Saturday morning.
Thank you very, very much, Sitara. You're very, very welcome. And I'm very grateful that you gave me all the time, your attention, and these lovely, insightful replies. I'm sure they'll help a lot of people, in their professional and individual capacities. And professional capacities is mostly from the mind, but the individual capacity is what the heart desires. So beautiful. And you answered the questions and you went up and down towards mind and heart so beautifully. So thank you for all the frankness and the insights. Thank you very much indeed for your appearance on MediaCast on Mediabrief.com, my podcast series. Thanks also once again to Manasvi Dhillon of Publicis Consultancy Asia. Thank you very much indeed. Sitara Menon, India Marketing Manager for international dating app OkCupid India, was my distinguished young veteran on MediaCast, the podcast series from Mediabrief.com. Till we meet again, this is your host and friend Pavan Chawla saying thank you for having tuned into MediaCast on Mediabrief.com. Take care, stay safe. Bye-bye.